Despite the confusion and the lack of security in our 2020 election, how can I be certain that my vote is being counted? This is Hiram Morley, and welcome to QuickTics. Alrighty, before we begin, I'm going to talk to you about OUR, which is Operation Underground Railroad. That is why I'm wearing a hat today. I typically don't wear hats at all, just because I don't like them. I think they're uncomfortable. And if you can see, it says OUR Rescue, and it stands for Operation Underground Railroad. Operation Underground Railroad is a non-profit organization that rescues the victims of human sex trafficking all around the world. They are fighting against the largest growing criminal enterprise in the world, with 30 million people being sold into sex trafficking and around 8 million children who are sold into sex trafficking, slave labor, and organ harvesting. If you want to learn more and become an abolitionist of modern-day slavery, go to OURrescue.org. Again, that's OURrescue.org. Many of my friends and family have expressed concerns about voting. One of the biggest concerns I've heard is they say I don't think I'm going to vote because I'm not really into politics, or just I don't really feel comfortable with voting because I don't know who to vote for and stuff like that. I hear comments like this all the time from friends and family, and this video is specifically for you. So if you know anybody that needs to hear this video, feel free to share this video. And don't forget to subscribe if you would like to receive more videos like this. I found that it's interesting that it's typically the women in my life that are typically the better peacemakers, the gentler and more caring people, and I can tie that into the larger group with social conservatives and importantly Christians. And when they see politics as contentious by nature, we kind of steer clear from it, right? I would offer a few words of peace and comfort. I firmly believe that politics doesn't have to be contentious because it begins with you and me. And I'm here to tell you that you don't have to be an expert in any political field to know where you stand on such issues. My hope is that you would study this out for yourself and know just enough for you to know where your political ideals align best with your values. Right. And through the scouting program, I've studied the rights, duties, and obligations of the citizens of my community, the country, and the world. Over and over, we were taught that voting is not only a right, but it should be treated as a duty of each individual citizen. Your vote determines the future for your posterity and the direction of your nation. How can I be sure that my vote is counted this October? Yes, I said October because if you live in Utah, your county clerk should send your ballot in on October 13th. Right, yes. Before I continue to talk about some advice that I would give to you about the mail-in voting, it's time for our book review. Today I've chosen this book called The Nerdy Kids Against the Insane Cows. Yes, it sounds great, right? It kind of sounds like Captain Underpants, if you know what I'm talking about. But no, I have three great friends that have written this book, and they each go back and forth writing their own chapters, and it's super creative. Some people would almost say it's the next Harry Potter, and they've even got a second book in the writing, but something tells me it'll be coming out in a couple more years. But it is on Amazon. You can go check it out. I think it's around $10 for a printed copy. You can also get a Kindle version as well. So despite all of the controversy in politics within these ideas of having universal mail-in voting, for me personally, I don't think it's a good idea because it's never been tested out, especially with the countless examples of voter fraud. Like the same thing goes with New Jersey, where 25% of their ballots were disqualified, and it just doesn't seem right that we should be playing with these games, especially when the country is so divided at this time. When you are voting, I have a couple of steps to make sure your vote is counted. My first bit of advice is this. If your community has a local polling station that you can go to them and use them. If they have them, go to them and use them. This is probably the most effective way to make sure your vote is counted, because as soon as it is counted there, you know it's counted, and you don't have to wait for it in the mail. And if it's not an option to you, my second bit of advice would be to vote with your family. And I don't mean your cousins or your aunts and uncles, because I know people differ on political values, but vote with your family. Show your kids what it means to fulfill your civic duty and vote. It provides an opportunity for you and specifically your spouse to unify with the values and culture that you share together. If there's absolutely no way to get around mail-in voting, I would advise you to do 4 things. Alright, the first thing, you have to go and register immediately. Again, I'll put the link in the description below for Utahns to go and register, and it literally takes less time than filling out your Utah census. As soon as you get your ballot, fill it out immediately, the day of. I say this because, again, this is a very time-sensitive thing, and it takes weeks for your ballot to be sent to wherever it's going. And so I want you to mark this date on your calendar. Your county clerk is responsible for mailing in your ballots for Utah between October 13th and October 27th. I don't want you to wait for October 27th to message your county clerk. I want you to be vigilant. That way you will get it at the earliest possible moment, and then you can fill it out as soon as possible. My third bit of advice is to follow these instructions exactly. Follow them to the T, is because there are some things on there, like for Utah, I know you have to have a signature on the outside of your envelope. And it's underneath a little flap. It's kind of crazy. There's some thing. Then they have to do that to make sure you are who you are, voter ID, and so make sure you fill these out to the T. The next thing I would say is, and I cannot emphasize this even more, is do not hand your ballot to your mailman. Do not leave it in the P.O. box. As soon as you let that go, you have no idea where it's going. Just do not slip it in your mailbox, and do not give it to the mailman at all. No, that is like the biggest thing I would emphasize, is because that's how it gets lost. That's how it doesn't get turned in on time for November 3rd. I know it's a pain to go and drive to your county clerk's office and hand it in personally to your county clerk. I don't know if you know this, but there was a mock ballot that was sent in the mail for a study to see what time it took for these ballots to go through, and they sent 100 ballots in the mail, and within like 4 weeks, 3% of them didn't even come back. And they received some birthday cards and stuff. That's how insecure universal mail-in voting could possibly be. And so that's why I say hand it in personally to your county clerk. That's the last thing I would say, is just track your ballot as soon as you hand it in to your county clerk, and make sure your vote is counted this October. I would advise you to become an advocate for greater election security, so we may have better trust in our election process in the future. And especially when the world is so divided today, I would warn you that there will be some confusion this coming November, especially with some of the politics that is being played today, and it's very dangerous. So be aware and listen to the Spirit. Alrighty, today I'm grateful for books. I typically don't read books, and it's hard for me to just read and understand things, but I have so much more to learn in this world. Alrighty, God bless.
Yeah.